Well, apologies for that technical hitch. My director is saying, well, that's why we need insurance. Maybe these are not medical equipments, but maybe for the workplace. Anyway, no one was injured in the time that we were off air. But now we are back and we're looking at matters of medical insurance. With us in studio is the MD of AAR Kenya, Nixon Shigoli. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've already established that there is need to have medical insurance cover, given that universal health care is one of the main priorities of the government, or rather an issue that government has prioritized. But now, on the ground is that medical insurance is seemingly not a priority to most Kenyans. Why do you think so?
The first reason is because there are competing interests. You have less income and all the expenses have to compete for that income. So out of the money most Kenyans get, they can afford as low, if any, around 10,000 for insurance. Now, it is not easy to get an insurance cover comprehensive with 10,000 shillings, say, a year. And therefore, that's why most Kenyans would prefer to take care of the basic needs and put medical insurance aside. And when a cost issue comes to do with medical, then they go for fundraising. When there is then death, you still have fundraising for death so that you can bury your loved one. And yet you buy insurance, which is very cheap for burial or for funeral expenses. That's why most Kenyans will not prioritize insurance. The other issue is to do with the complexity of insurance itself. Because insurance is not a very simple product that can be consumed easily, like the way you walk in a shop and buy bread, because you're buying a service that is for future, and most Kenyans don't want to plan for bad things.
But you see, Kenyans can, someone would argue that the main deterrent where Kenyans are not really taking up medical insurance, or rather insurance in general, is the high cost of premiums. Look at Wanjiko, the high cost of living is way too high right now, and we don't think, or rather the presumption is, we do not have affordable products to cater to our medical needs. What do you say?
That is true and not true. They are affordable products because they are ranges. What Kenyans do not know is the awareness, which we are doing now. Create awareness for people to know there are cheap products you can buy. They may not provide you the tertiary kind of insurance or healthcare that you need, but they'll give you some level of insurance that is comfortable at the time, at the income that you have. For example, you can buy, in AR, we've developed products which you can pay per month. Insurance is purchased annually, but we've made it that you can purchase insurance monthly, which means at a premium of 12,000, you can be able to buy insurance and pay 1,000 every month. That allows you some good, reasonable cover for the year.
So you're saying that industry players are reinventing themselves, targeting the people who would not have otherwise taken up insurance?
Yes, industry players. That's why you have what we call micro insurance, where you can provide insurance, some level of insurance at a low premium, say 10,000, 15,000. And that's what AR is doing to make sure it taps into the number of people who do not have insurance.
Now, government has set its sight at providing universal health care between now and 2022.
Yes.
And we already have the NHIF in place. But NHIF has also been put in a place and said that it is not meeting its objectives. As a private sector player, what do you think should be done to ensure, at least as the insurance sector, as a private sector player, can come on board in as far as universal health care is concerned?
As far as universal health care is concerned, is a clear definition of the care, the service that NHIF would offer. Once it is very clear, this is the service that NHIF would offer, you'll find private healthcare will subsidize, will reduce their costs, because the cover that private healthcare will give, it will be over and above what NHIF is offering. That will allow the common Kenyan a low premium for a reasonable and decent cover over and above the universal healthcare that NHIF would provide. That would be a very big step in ensuring success of universal healthcare.
Well, if you're tuning in, this is Business Insight, and being the Customer Service Week, we want to know, are you satisfied with the medical insurance services available locally? Are you satisfied? And if you're not, get in touch with us on Twitter at Ray Manyara, at KBC Channel 1, or better yet, you can SMS us on 22162. Now, since we've talked about that the NHIF has to be geared towards achieving or rather providing universal health care, do you think the government has done enough to make the universal health care sector or rather pillar attractive to private sector players?
I think, yes, they've done what is possible with the resources that are available, because there've been a lot of discussions between NHIF and the government and private sector. I've attended more than 3 this year, 3 functions where we are exchanging views on how to implement universal healthcare between the government, NHIF, and the private sector.
So where does private medical insurers, what role are they going to play in as far as this is concerned?
The role, you'll notice that all the medical insurance covers, for example, that AR sales have a component of NHIF. The first primary basic cover is paid by NHIF, which makes the premium that a person pays lower, because there is a level of cost that is taken up by NHIF. Number 2 is when we distribute insurance, we still talk to people about NHIF, because we enroll members on behalf of NHIF, and that can go to a higher scale if there is a partnership between private insurers and NHIF. And the government.
Now let us look at another issue, that challenge that is facing or rather is hampering growth in the medical insurance sector, the issue of fraud. How are you tackling this? This is something that has perennially been there over and over again. Fraud, where we have the service provider colluding with maybe the other service provider like the hospitals to defraud the client who has walked in. Let me use in the layman term, is that it is said whenever you walk to a medical facility and you're using a medical insurance card, well, be sure you're going to pay more than a person who walks in looking for the same particular services and is paying cash.
Fraud remains the biggest challenge for insurance companies, and there have been a lot of mechanisms to try and manage the extent of fraud. Fraud can happen at various levels, at a client level, at insurance staff level, at provider level, and all these, at provider level it manifests in terms of when you have insurance and it can take care of everything, then there's a tendency to price for that insurance. But what insurers have done and AR has done is to make sure that members are updated at the point of service. That you are about to access this service, you walked into a provider with a cough and you notice the cost of that cough is 10,000 shillings. So what we do is when you get the service, you get a notification while on the floor of the provider. And you can be able to question, I came in and what you've given me is a Panadol, and I can see the cost is 10,000, and that will create everybody to be aware that members and clients are conscious of the costs that they incur. Now, medical insurance is also not usually enough. So if you have a cover of, say, 100,000, and you let it be utilized in any form, then in 4 months you'll not have cover. So what we are trying to do is enlighten members to take control of their own health and take control of their own cost. And we are helping in negotiating with providers to reduce the cost of medication and cost of consultation, so that insurance helps the member to manage their own benefit, so that it gets to the maybe 10th or 12th month before they renew.
Okay.
That's what insurance is doing to control the issue of fraud. But then you can never 100% eliminate fraud. We've introduced also the biometric access of service, where if you go to access service, then you have to use your fingerprints to get the care. And for kids, then they use the next of kin or the parents to get access to service.
Now let us look at the regulation part of it. I'm sure you're a member of the Association of Kenya Insurers. What is that body, has it ensured that these issues of fraud and also customer relations is taken care of, or is there something that needs to be done to ensure that the person who has gone for that service gets value for their money?
Yes, Association of Kenya Insurers and the regulator, IRA, have been on the forefront in helping in controlling and curbing the issue of fraud within the industry. One way of doing that is through education, which you've seen a lot of adverts talking about how to take care of your own cover and educating members to ensure their covers are managed well. That is done well by the regulator and AKI. We've seen the Association of Kenya Insurers encouraging people to ensure that the issuance of certificates, for example, for motor insurance, is done at centralized place so that there are no certificates out there that are not legit. And therefore, the Association of Kenya Insurers and the IRA have played a big role in ensuring there is minimization of fraud, and even they have fraud investigation wings at the regulator, which they can help underwriters to investigate fraud.
The issue of pricing, you've mentioned that you are in negotiations with service providers to bring down the cost of medical services.
Yes.
How is this impacting the pricing? How is this impacting on medical insurance at a whole?
Insurance is largely a business of large numbers. So if you price reasonably, not low, and many people buy, then many people allow those few people who can access the care, get the care, and the care is quality. So that's why when for example, universal healthcare takes care of the primary level of insurance, and private insurance takes care of the secondary, it means the secondary cover will be reasonably priced and many Kenyans will be able to afford insurance. Currently, around 36% of Kenyans can afford some level of insurance, not necessarily private insurance, but some level of insurance, leaving around 64% exposed. And that is a very big market if ideal products are developed for that particular market.
So, with these persons, we've already established that Kenyans think that medical insurance is not a priority. What are you doing to ensure that these people that you're targeting, actually looking at the insurance penetration, and it's still very low, and maybe medical insurance is a way to go to increase uptake of insurance. So as an industry player, what are you doing to ensure that these people come on board?
As AAR, what we are doing, first we've taken some 2 banks and partnered to develop very low level products for our members, and which can be bought at a monthly fee, so that many people are able to afford insurance. Number 2 is allowing people to also buy NHIF as they take the private insurance, so that the NHIF becomes complementary to private insurance. That is done, we do it, all our products are NHIF compliant. Number 3 is negotiating the cost of especially drugs, which constitutes majority of the expense under outpatient. And we are going to be launching a partnership with someone who can distribute medical insurance online, online, so that you just need to transmit your prescription and your drugs are delivered at your doorstep, which reduces the middleman in between and makes the cost of insurance lower for that individual member.
Now, since you're talking about medical insurance, you've seen increased cases of terminal illnesses like cancer, diabetes, hypertension coming up. As an industry player, I'm sure this has been a case of concern, because then treatment has not been equally affordable from your end. What's your take on that?
Non-communicable diseases remain a biggest problem for all underwriters, and AR not exception. And we've seen a lot of cancer, majority of the conditions we cover that eat up the 70% is within the classification of non-communicable diseases. Now, as AR, what we are doing is advocating mainly for preventive care, where we are asking our members to live healthy, drink water, do the healthy things to prevent going into hospital, to prevent the non-communicable diseases, which are more lifestyle-based, and reduce the cost of care that they need when they fall sick.
So from where you sit with this, do you think this government's agenda of providing universal health care is indeed going to be implemented within the time span we have, around two and a half years to 2022? What's your take on that?
I think they will. Even if they achieve 70% of success, that is good enough, because that is the first step. towards ensuring universal health care for all, and which is enshrined in the Constitution, Section 45, I think, and to guarantee some level of high level of standard of health care and emergency care for common Kenyan. And my view is that even if by the end of the 2-3 years we've reached at 80%, 70% success, that will be good enough, and we will step up that, scale up as we move on into the future.
Well, now, if you've just tuned in, we're asking you today, being the Customer Service Week, what's your take on the current medical insurance services available locally? And we're already getting feedback from you, and we encourage you to tell us where you are viewing us from, so that we can be able to place you geographically or rather demographically. Now, just to sample a few, is that someone says, and I think this is addressed to you, sir, and he says, like, in regard to AAR, I lost my card in May this year. I paid a replacement fee of 500 shillings, and up to date you have not replaced. And when an inquiry is made, the answer is that it is not yet printed.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't get the name.
They didn't
that
give the name.
That feedback is taken, and we'll make sure you get a replacement. Usually when it is a smart card that you use biometric access, due care is taken before a quick replacement is done. But then we'll pick up that and ensure within a short period, it should take 2-3 days for you to get a replacement of a card. And that is once we terminate the old one. It should take 1 or 2 days that you get a replacement of a card.
Okay.
So I would love to get the details and make sure he gets his card.
Well, well, wherever you were texting us from, kindly include your name and maybe probably where you're from, so that Mr. Nixon can actually follow up on that. Now, looking at the issue of trust and customer relations, it is the Customer Service Week, and complaints about how clients have their claims have taken so long to be processed. This is one of the things that most Kenyans complain about, and as far as claims are concerned on their end. What are you doing to ensure that actually you respond in time?
First, I wish to confirm that AR is #1 in payment of claims, not at 100%, rated by the regulator at 86% payment of claims. That includes timely payment and quantity of claims paid, vis-a-vis the ones rejected. One of the reasons why claims payment will be slower is the documentation and the lack of knowledge on the part of the either provider or the client on what is required to get your claim paid on time. So you'll find somebody has submitted a claim, but a number of the documents that are supposed to be attached are missing. So there's a back and forth, bring us this, bring us that, to be able to enable us pay. Because usually insurance will want to look at that claim and compare it against the policy you paid. Is it a legitimate claim? And we've talked about fraud. So we compare it and ensure that if the medication given is for a child and you are an adult, then there is a problem there, which needs to be checked. Is it a mistake, or is it related to fraud? And that's why claims will take time. But for medical claims, at 86% payment rate, I think it's high. We endeavor to reach 90% within the course of the year, and in future to increase that to 100%.
Well, I think someone is challenging that and also highlighting that issue, especially on delayed claims, not maybe directly at AAR, but now saying that no insurance companies are not good. They are very fast when it comes to picking up the monies, but they complicate things and forgetting that you have been paying for the service yearly. That is Agri from Likoni. Maybe there should be a turnaround time duration given for payment of claims, or it varies with situations.
Yes, there is a timeline, and if you breach that timeline, there is also a penalty from the government through the regulator. So usually claims are supposed to be paid from the point of receipt within 90 days. You are supposed to have settled all claims, and any outstanding claims that are due, you are penalized at 5% of that cost. So underwriters and insurers don't want to be penalized because they are holding on to claims that are genuinely payable. So what I would tell Agri is that he needs to contact his insurer and check what are the requirements, and some of them are put online. When you have a claim, what do you do? And when a claim is payable, most underwriters would pay it within a reasonable time, maximum 60 days, or the most maximum at 90 days, which is what the law requires.
Now, as we come to a close, it's the Customer Service Week, and we'd not let you leave this studio without telling us how has been your experience with the current medical insurance service providers locally. Are you satisfied on a personal level, sir?
At a personal level, I'm very satisfied. Just like a month ago, I had an admission for one of my family members, and we received exceptional service. The cost was on the higher side. I thank God I had insurance that would take care of that cost. But personally, I'm happy with the facilities. And people should not imagine I went to the high-end facilities. Not at all. I went to a middle-level facility, and I got excellent service. And both my two family members are doing well, and I'm happy with the facilities that we have in Kenya. That does not mean we don't have some challenges at county level, because of the level of funding that is there. And we know we don't have unlimited resources. So some facilities will not have expected equipment to deal with a patient. And that is there in one or two facilities here and there, which then of course comes with the issue of funding.
Very well said. If you've tuned in, this has been Business Insight, and in our interactive segment this evening, we had been looking at the issues of medical insurance and trying to see why the industry is the way it is, and hearing views from you as clients or potential clients, given the statistics indicate that Kenyans tend to think that medical insurance is actually not very important. But we've heard from the MD of AAR Kenya saying that yes, there are products that are out there and are affordable. And just a story that we were running earlier said that you can have for funeral insurance for as low as 100 shillings per month. Well, that has been Mr. Nixon Shigoli, who is the MD of AAR Insurance Kenya, telling us that insurance should be a part and parcel of your life, because when it comes, you'll not be able to always call people to come and do harambes for you. You need to take care of yourself.